Can you hear us, Fred?
Yes.
All right, we can hear you. So
Awesome.
I'm gonna take roll. Juanita,
Yes.
Clarence,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
present, and Fred is
Present.
present. All right. So I'm just going to do quick business items. I guess these are continued, so we don't need to. We're going to just jump right into the continued item for request for determination of applicability for 55 King Oak Lane. The homeowner wanted to install a dock, which we verified with DEP can be done through for simple docks, we can do through an RDA, a negative determination. So last meeting, the two outstanding items were one, wanting to make sure that this wasn't a great pond, because they would need kind of additional approvals. And I did check the official state list that Bass Pond is not on the state list of great ponds. And the second was we wanted the commission requested the actual, basically make model of the dock that's going to go in. And the homeowner provided that with me. It's basically the style that there's large plastic wheels on the bottom of it, and you just kind of, the dock is roughly like 36 inches wide, something like that, and it actually is not a solid surface. It allows sun to go through, and you just roll it in at the beginning of the season, and you stake it on the edge of pond, and then you take those out and you roll it out at the end of the season. So it's a standard low impact dock. They're not using any. We try and avoid using docks that have like foam flotation devices, so because that stuff breaks off and ends up in the water and stuff like that. So at this point, unless the commission has any other questions or concerns, I think we can entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Fred, you're muted, but
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Is there a second? Yeah.
All right, Peter. So I guess I'll do roll call. Juanita.
Yes.
Clarence.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
And I figured while we're here, we might as well do the it'd be a -2 determination, because technically it's in an area subject to protection, but will not alter. So I'll leave it up. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion to issue a -2 determination?
I'll make the motion to issue a -2 determination.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, I'll do roll. Juanita,
Yes.
Clarence,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Fred.
Yes.
All right. So that brings us to item 2, which is the Jamaica Street. Someone's making some noise there. All right. So I'll just give a quick update. So this is another continued item. It's single family home, generally outside of the structures outside of the 50-foot. The only work proposed inside the 50-foot is a modest area to extend the lawn behind the house. There's no removal of trees in that area. Let's see, what else is there? I visited the site with the wetland consultant and walked the wetland line. It's pretty standard. It's just basically a low spot in the area.
Didn't Chris have some concern about how close something about the edge to the house to the neighbor? Or Wasn't there a question about where the boundary was or
Well,
the driveway?
we had discussed that. I don't know if I might as well open it up to the project proponents if they would like to give a little more to the recap there and discuss any items that we brought up last round.
Certainly. Good evening, members of the commission. Joe Pesnola from Sherman and Frederick, representing Paul Lemieux. Yeah, there was a question on our plan. We did a full boundary survey, and we had indicated a slight encroachment of the neighbor's driveway. There was a more significant encroachment in the past, and the prior owner of the subject property had worked with the owner to remove that. And we just committed that we'll continue to work with that neighbor. Should there be any should that small encroachment need an easement or whatever. We're not looking to, we don't need that area, and we're not looking to cause any waves with the new neighbor. It's actually there's already Paul's going to build the house, and he's already got a buyer for the house. I think he said it's a couple of police officers that are buying the new house once Paul builds it.
Okay, yeah, and if it were the opposite, where the proposed development was encroaching on the neighbor's yard, we can't approve work on someone else's property, but this is the opposite of that. The neighbor's property is slightly, or the neighbor's driveway is slightly on this, the project's property. So that's really out of our hands. There was a comment from DEP about the base flood elevation is not established in this area. And from what I took, it was more up to us to just make sure that a good faith effort and the proper calculations were used to create that base flood elevation. And I believe the project proponents did provide how they came up with it. And because some of the work is going to cut into that, they are proposing some grading on the other side of the house. It's very small, it's very modest. I think they've done a good job of addressing that issue. And I'm trying to think if there are any other outstanding DEP comments.
No.
I walked the site. It's basically kind of a flat area. It starts to slope, and then it kind of really slopes down to the wetland area and I guess the stream area behind. So it's well, this project is well above where the water would be collecting. So
I think, Kevin, the only other issue was we were welcome to a condition that required us to put some monumentation, some concrete bounds along the limit of work and the 50 limit of work behind the house, and then the 50 on to the right hand side of the house.
Yeah, basically, I was going to entertain that as a condition, that basically that the monumentation will go along the limit of work line as shown on the plan. So it'll be the 50 in the side yard, and then it'll go back to that small margin that goes in the 50 on that back edge, and then kind of end out. And our typical, in the past, our typical monumentation has been, cement sonotube, 4-5 inches in diameter and extending up a couple feet from the ground. And trying to think of typically how far apart. I think they're like maybe 15 or 20 feet, something like that. But the one thing actually, speaking with the chair of the commission, that he also was requesting, and if the applicant is willing to do so, that language be placed in the deed identifying what that limit of work is, and that no future encroachment would be permitted behind that line.
We can do that. As I said, it's Mr. Lemieux's intent to build a house and then sell it. So there will be a deed transfer. So we'll have an opportunity at that time to get that language in there, and we can propose something and pass it by you, Kevin, to make sure you're,
And
you
that's
and
how
the
the,
commission are accepted.
yep, that's how the language of the condition will go, that we're going to vote, assuming the commission is willing to move forward this evening, that the condition would, that, you know, the some sort of just a mock-up on a plan of where the monuments are going to go on your existing site plan, just be submitted that they're actually shown on there, and that's submitted and accepted prior to the start of work. And the same thing with the deed restriction language, that be submitted and approved prior to the start of work. So that's just like, those will be the conditions, but we can move forward on it if the commission is so moved.
Thank you.
So I guess, is there any other questions or concerns from the commission? Oh, one more that I wanted to put in is that, so you're not removing any trees in that area, it's just some like shrubs, and it's kind of a, you know, like a lot of places, a little bit, there's some invasives and stuff like that, that whatever ground cover that you're proposing in that 50-foot, it's kind of a standard one in our conditions that we just, we condition it that it's like a native grass and not,
Kentucky blue.
exactly, something that's not quite so labor resource intensive. So we put that in there. It's more of a good faith condition, but we would put that as a condition that it'd be a native grass to this region.
Certainly, and I think the chairman also mentioned, you know, organic fertilizers and pesticides.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else from the commission? All right, were you trying to say something, Juanita? Oh, okay. All right,
No, I
so,
wasn't.
okay, you were basically saying no, but I couldn't hear you. So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, Peter. All right, so let me do roll. Juanita,
Yes.
Clarence,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Fred.
Yes.
All right, so while we're in this item, it's actually our last item of tonight. I'll just reiterate what the commission would be voting on for the order of conditions. It'd be our standard set of conditions plus the addition of these unique ones, that the commission would be granting a variance to the 50-foot no disturb within that area shown on the plan, that the vegetation in that area and in the limit of work be native with the added use of organic organic pest and fertilizer management, that the monuments would be placed at the limit of work, and that the mock-up or markup plan of the monuments would be submitted and approved prior to the beginning of work, and that a restriction be added that no future clearing or work would be allowed without, the review and approval by the Conservation Commission, and that language be approved and recorded prior to the beginning of work. So I guess it would be, is there a motion to accept the order as read?
Motion to accept the order as read.
All right, Juanita,
I'll second.
and, oh, Clarence got the second. All right, and roll call. Juanita,
Yes.
Clarence,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you very much, everyone. Been a pleasure. Have a good evening.
And I'll follow up with you, Joe.
Okay, sounds great.
All
And
right.
thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, thank you much for my end too.
Take care.
Right.
All right. So the next two items that were continued just have outstanding stuff that I still need. We walked to the 1021 Boston Road site and we were just doing a kind of confirmation, but when we got there, they realized that the wetland flags that are on the plan, you know, they're named A1 through A12 or something like that. When we got down to the actual wetland, there were flags down there, but they weren't labeled with that. So someone had, I think a surveyor or something had either taken down the originals or re-put them up with his own writing, but we couldn't really verify anything in the field. And one of the flags that was there was like in probably a couple feet in the water because we had just gotten a lot of rain. So we just needed that to be explained, sorted out, and they hadn't gotten around to it yet. So they requested that we continue. And then Allen Street, they've got a lot of comments from DPW and engineering, and I want to make sure that their project isn't going to change substantially before we approve the subdivision, because rather than having them get approved, have their plan change, and then have to come back and get it amended, we're just going to kind of do a review at the same time as DPW. So those are continued, and I haven't, it was aspirational. I put meeting minutes approval. I haven't written them up yet. So that
Any
item
news
is,
on, any news on a recorder?
no, I requested, I've emailed, I think 2 times now. I haven't heard back yet. So I just got to stay on it and get an answer. So
Yeah.
They ever figure out the rain garden problem?
that's one of the comments that we're very curious about, because it's one thing to call it a rain garden, but have it be in some like easement that the city's going to take care of. But it's another thing to have this thing in people's backyards with, you know, with a note saying on their deed, oh yeah, there's this thing you can't touch. So there's a number of things like that we want to know about before, you know, so we can be comfortable as best we can approving the project to kind of avoid future, you know, issues,
Awesome.
Whatever you want to call it. So, so yeah, is there anything else I mean, there's nothing left on the agenda. So there would be a motion to close the meeting, I guess?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, that is Peter. A second.
I'll-
Is that
I'll
Fred?
second.
All right. All right, Juanita,
Yes.
Clarence. I saw him mouth, yes. Pete
Yes.
and Fred.
Yes.